All right, when last we met, we had a game that looked like this. I could click the fish, and then it gets faster, and it gets faster. Oh, and I lost. So now I want to click to restart. Right now when I click, nothing happens. So the last thing we did was add our game over screen. Now we're going to add a click to restart. But to do that, we have to kind of think about, before we think about how to add the click and where to add the click to restart, we have to think about what does restart mean? So restart means simply restart the game, right? I know, Mr. Dickey, that's not a very good question. But what does it mean to restart the game? That is the question we need to address first. And for that, I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to create a new function called restart. And then I'm going to think about what should go inside of the restart function. So we have to think about where we are right now. Right now, my score is 5. But when I restart the game, do I want my score to still be 5? I'm pretty sure I don't. I'm pretty sure I'm going to want my score to be what it was at the beginning. And the score at the beginning was 0. So how do we make our score 0? Because right now, if I click to restart, because one thing I know for sure I'm going to have to put in here, I'm going to come down to the bottom. I'm going to put in a function called loop. And what loop will do is loop will say, hey, draw, start looping again. Because remember, we used no loop to make it stop. Loop will make it start again. Pretty cool, right? So I'm going to call loop. For sure, I know I'm going to do that. But what else do I need to do? Because if I just call loop now, score is still 5. I don't want score to still be 5. I need score to be 0 at the beginning of the game. Well, I changed the state of a variable the same way I always do. I just type the name of the variable, and I use an equal sign to say what should score get. Score should get 0, right? Not so bad. Now, the other thing we need to think about is how many lives do I have right now? Well, I have 0 lives, which is why the game is over. So I need to make sure I have lives to start again. All right, so now we have a restart function. So now when I run this, I'll get a couple points, and now I'll lose. Now I'll click to restart. Hey, we didn't restart. So I've defined what restart means, but I haven't called it yet. I have not called restart. So we know that we're going to have to do a click to restart, which means we're going to need to do something inside of our mouse pressed. Well, right now I've got this huge block of stuff inside of the mouse pressed, and I don't want to mess this up because I know this part works. This part of my code works, and it works perfectly. I score points, I lose lives, so I know that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to protect this code by putting it inside of a function. So I'm going to copy all of this code. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and cut it, which puts it in the clipboard. And then I'm going to come down, I'm going to create a new function. I'm going to call that function check hit, because that's what it's doing. I'm checking to see whether I hit the fish or not, right? So I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I'm going to create a new function called check hit, and I'm going to paste all of that code inside of that function. So now all of that code that was in mouse pressed is now in my check hit function. So that mouse pressed we'll call check hit. So right now, all I've done is move my code around, so things should still work. And they work to score points, and if I miss, I lose lives. Okay, so we know that that code still works. I did that so I wouldn't screw something up. So what I want to do is I want to minimize this so that now it's protected. I can't touch it, right? I have to open that before I touch it, so I can't break it by accident. So we know when I click the mouse, I want to do one of two things. I want to either call check hit or I want to call restart. I want to do one of those two things when I click my mouse. Right now, when I click my mouse, I'm going to do both of those things. So if I was to run this right now, I'm going to go ahead and click the fish, and wait a minute, my lives are still 3 and my score is still 0, and I'm clicking the fish. I'm going to miss the fish. My lives are still 0. What's going on there? What gives? What gives? So what gives is the fact that every time I click my mouse, I check hit and I restart the game. I don't want to do that. What I want is sometimes when I click, I want it to check whether I hit or not. And sometimes when I click, I want it to restart the game. So how do I make that happen? Well, anytime we want to deal with this idea of selection so that sometimes our code runs and sometimes our code doesn't run, we know we're going to need an if statement. We know we're going to need an if statement. So I'm going to go ahead and just comment these out so I don't inadvertently call them extra times, because really what I want to talk about is this if statement that I need to make. I need to make an if statement that says if the game is over, restart. If the game is not over, then I want to check hit, right? So that's what I want to happen. So how do I make that happen? How do we know if the game is over? If what? Well, how did we call our game over screen? We called our game over screen when what was true. Let's look up here. In our draw, we clear our screen, we print our text, we draw our fish, we move our fish, we check to see if lives are equal to 0. That's what the double equal sign means again. Double equal sign means is lives equal to 0? And if lives are equal to 0, then we call the game over screen. So if lives are 0, we know the game is over. So down here, I'm going to say if lives equal 0, then I'm going to do open curly brace. So now what I've got going on right now is if I press the mouse, I'm going to ask the question, are lives equal to 0? If lives are equal to 0 and I've pressed the mouse, now I'm going to restart, right? And if lives are not equal to 0, that means the game is not over. So I'm going to use else for that. I'm going to call check hit. So now, all right, the game is over. Now I'm going to click the mouse and we'll see what happens. Hey, look at that. I have a score of 0. Wait, why is my fish so fast? Why is my fish so fast? My fish is wicked. It's just as fast as it was going before, right? I don't know if I can hit it. Oh, I got it. Oh, now it's getting faster. All right. So I click to restart. Oh my gosh, why is it so fast? What is going on? So let's talk about what's going on. So what we know is as we click it, it gets faster, right? So what is our speed at the beginning? Our speed is 4 at the beginning. Well, after I click it, it gets faster. Did I do anything to reset the score back to, or did I just leave it? So if we look at our restart function again, in our restart function, we reset score to 4, we reset lives to 3, but speed, we don't change speed. So whatever speed was at the end of the last game, it still is. So we need to change speed also. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to look at my top here and look at all of these variables. All of the variables up here are all of this, that's the state the game is in when the game starts. This is the state the game is in when the game starts. So I want to make sure that all of my variables have those exact same values. So I'm going to come back down to here, and I'm going to go ahead and say x gets 225, because this is the state my game was in when it started. Now you'll notice, I want you to notice something. I did not write let in front of these variables. You with me? Let is a keyword that says create a brand new variable. So if score already exists, I don't need to write let score get a number. I just have to say, I want to change the value of score. And to change the value of score, I just write score gets 5 or score gets 0. I don't have to write let lives get 3 because lives already exist. I just say lives gets 3. So now when I run this, let's see if that fixed my problem. Okay, we got a sufficiently fast fish. Now if I lose, now we slow again. All right, good. So that fixed that problem. So this is how we can do a click to restart type function. And so all it did, I'm going to get rid of this so it's not in our way, confusing us, is we said if the game is over, restart. Otherwise, the game is not over, so we should check hit. So if lives are 0, we will restart. If lives are not 0, that's what this else here means, then we're going to call the check hit function. Okay? And by putting our code into functions, it allowed us to do two things. Thing one, when I was adding this whole lives restart function, call, I did not have the chance of screwing up the code that determined whether I clicked the fish or not. I was good to go. The other thing it allows me to do is now I can look at this and it's very clear to me what's going on, right? If the lives are 0, I'm going to restart the game. If the lives are not 0, I'm going to check to see whether I hit the fish or not. So in plain English now, I know what mouse press means very easily. So hopefully you're there, and then we're going to add the next piece tomorrow.